question. If money wasn't an issue, or or didn't exist as our currency, so if we didn't have the concept of money, where do you feel the world and the human race would be now?
I like how it's phrased, if money wasn't an issue. So that's already applying a negative connotation to it. To start with.
A false construct.
Yeah, so currency is just neutral. Even though our monetary system is skewed, it's a rigged game of sorts, but currency in and of itself is neutral. So money we're always going to need some form of currency to be able to exchange anything. It's gonna be necessary for any type of exchange.
Did the Native Americans have it?
Well, they had some.
But yeah, when you barter,
they had systems of exchange.
Yeah, but they would also take care of each other. If one family had a failed crop, they didn't insist you exchange your wife or something. There was a greater community aspect.
No, only a white man would do that.
Yeah.
but that's another thing. If you live in a world of abundance as opposed to limitation, there will be less or maybe no need for something like that. If you're living in abundance, then you're just sharing and cooperating. But since we live, or this paradigm that we're existing in, that they're keeping as a world of limitation, because of that, we're relegated to using these things because of the limitation.
So where would we be without it? It's the question.
Way better.
We would be better off. Like I'm thinking of a society of abundance where you have abundant energy, therefore abundant food, therefore
But why would you? So let's just say, there's generally always. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm gonna use support again. But why would you say that? No matter what, even if money wasn't there, we would still have limits on resources, right? It's always a battle for resources.
That's what I'm discussing.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm discussing.
I think I missed that.
Because we're in the paradigm of limited resources.
Right.
So it's proven that the universe is abundant with energy, and we're just not harnessing it. Like, I think Tesla said, don't quote me on the exacts, but he said, like, in one square foot of space, there's enough energy to power the world.
Right.
Like,
you could just nuclear energy. It's fission, right? Different energy.
Yeah, like any type of free energy, it's going to create an abundance paradigm. And in that abundance paradigm, we could just cooperate and share things. So then we could focus on the exploration of both our inner world and the exploration of something like space or the depths of our oceans. We would be focusing on that type of stuff instead of fighting each other and working meaningless jobs and all this stupid bread and circuses distraction.
Is that a phrase, or did you make that up? I don't know.
Bread and circuses? I think it's from Rome, right?
Yeah, and Whole Foods used to be bread and circus.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's fine.
Yeah, well, Whole Foods acquired bread and circus, which was a mess.
Yeah, I think we definitely would have advanced in a more symbiotic way with this planet. In a way where we could even be further along than we are now, or nowhere near as close, but we wouldn't have any of the issues we probably have.
We would be way further along.
If we didn't have money, is what we're responding to?
No, money is just a symptom of it. The
Symptom of what?
the limitation paradigm.
But if we have limited resources, regardless of money, and there's no way we're not going to have limited resources. Or are you saying there is a way to have unlimited resources?
There's free energy coming out.
Right,
There's people producing free energy generators. There's people that stuff's out there. It's just not. It's getting suppressed.
But you would agree that there's always things that people want. Like, for example, in many parts of the world, food is a limited resource, right?
You're gonna give us more volume.
Food is a limited resource in many parts of the world, and I think.
But not if you don't grow beyond what your area can sustain. When you start, adding money, you start building and bringing stuff in, then you're able to expand, and then you're going to have, if you believe in evolution, we came from Africa, so obviously people were able to do just fine before.
We came from Mars.
Make it happen.
Get a little off topic, but yeah, I mean, I guess
the continents had a way of
Yeah,
sustaining
more
life
like us.
before.
So here's my question. I mean, I would say that, you think about the, Maslow's hierarchy. It's needs and like the things that are important to people. The basics are food, shelter, etc. Blah blah blah. I mean, if you need food more than anything else in the world, why are there still people that are starving? I don't know. If we have that ability.
I mean, we pay
There's
our
already
farmers
abundance
to
of
not put
Yeah,
out their
there
food
is.
out.
What's that?
Like subsidies, like, oh, grow this so much, but we're gonna pay you to not give it out.
Yeah, there's already an overabundance
Yeah.
of food.
Yeah,
There's
it's
already
not a food
produced on
problem,
the
it's an
planet.
economic problem.
Yeah.
We have food to feed 12 billion.
Yeah.
But there's people
It's even
hungry.
more.
Yeah, at least.
So we believe that there is a solution to world hunger. It's just that right now it's not fitting into our economic scheme or something like that. Or
I think it all comes back to energy. I think once we use better, freer, more optimal energy sources, everything else is going to fall into place. Because that's going to shift us from the limitation paradigm to the abundance paradigm. And from there, we'll explore the depths of consciousness and space.
so
But you're talking as an aggregate. Like there are still plenty of social structures
But
and
the
other
social,
structures
the
that
so,
keep people down and don't educate.
and that stuff is a manifestation of it. It's
yeah,
a
but
symptom.
that doesn't. You don't wave a wand that goes away because of free energy.
It's going to be a transition.
Right.
It's going to trickle through.
But yeah, transition.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
So, may I jump in on the next one? Is that all right?
Yeah.
I was thinking I might as well give a dissenting opinion because it's fun for me. But like, I think that money helps us progress. I think that it's actually, one of those things where it's almost at this point, whether that's a good or bad thing, it tends to be one of the more universal incentives. I mean, it provides value. You are able to get value by using your currency. And so to me, having money, although, I do also in some ways believe it is the root of all evil, I think that having money creates incentives for people, and incentivizing people is sort of, a good way of motivating people to move forward and progress and blah, 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 blah.
That's if the system's not rigged.
Correct. That is a big process.
That's assuming it's a neutral currency.
Right, and
You're right.
these incentives are wants, not needs, anyways.
Well, sometimes, but not always.
Most of the time, people work for stuff that they don't really need. Like,
Food, shelter.
do you need a
No, no, no.
$500,000 house? Do you
Of course
need this? But yet, people still work for that money to
Right,
have these
and-
things.
but- I mean,
What's a
we're taking-
$500,000 house?
So right, let's
It's
just
just a collection of pieces
but
of wood
just
and
to take
random
a step back for a
things.
second.
Yeah.
Let's just pretend that not everyone lives in the United States, and sometimes people need money for food or shelter, or in certain places protection,
You can grow food.
water.
You can build shelter.
Right. I guess the point is, oftentimes people aren't completely self-sustaining. You can learn kung fu. Aren't completely self-sustaining, and therefore having an ability to purchase that sort of thing is very helpful, right? So if you need to, let's say I'm specializing in education, right? I'm a teacher in wherever the hell, some poor country. I mean, it's useful to me to get paid in money so that I can then buy food. Now you could argue that, oh, you can barter for that, which is very true. I mean, you can, the barter system, that's what we used to use, blah,
Right.
blah, blah. It's very, very true. It's just to me, as I think you were sort of alluding to briefly, I think money is more of just an easier way of doing that. It makes everything flow more liquid.
Yeah, because like here's an example, like if you have a goat and you're trying to buy a cow, you have to find someone with the exact opposite of you have, so you can exchange it. So it's difficult to do.
Exactly.
So with money, it's a medium to exchange everything, and that's neutral currency, but it's a rigged game. In our
and as
case.
James Malcolm Kelly the first, although we're not supposed to say his name, would point out, it helps if the bank is not owned by a small group of families.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
a private bank like in this country.